we've got a sample of an arrival coffee. I've got 2 internal samples that I need to roast. So we're at 3, and we've got about 10 offer samples. So that's, as far as I know, that's my roasting for today. So let's fire up the roast. First thing, so it's kind of impromptu where we've put the roast. We didn't know when we got one that how much we would enjoy it, how much we would use it. So basically, I just located it above the dishwasher, above the mini fridge, near the window. And this was going to be our testing spot. It's ended up just being our spot, not because it's a great work area, but the fact is you don't have to do much to set up a roost. You need a window and a vent, and I'm just using their flexible hose that comes with it. And we're ready to go. Turn on the power. Once you turn on the power, you've got about 5-10 seconds. It starts up, and by putting this into the heating position, it's already starting up. Let me check out what profile I am using. I actually didn't need to do that. I already know what I'm using because I use this profile for a lot. This is our inlet air temperature based washed profile. And I have a couple other profiles here, specifically like for 120 grams, a couple other ones. So the Roost stores 4 profiles, and you can have infinite profiles on your computer that you can send to the machine, that you can select from any of these 4. But even during a roast, I could send another profile over there and change that if I wanted some 5th profile. Now, the fact is, we use this profile all the time, and because it works so well. It's about a 7.5-minute profile as it works out, but it's based on the inlet air temperature, which we find to be really consistent. It kind of compensates for ambient temperature. So I've got the machine warming up, and I'm going to start weighing out my first batch. One thing that's important to note is that you do need different profiles for different batch sizes. So we use 100 grams like all the time. And for that, we tend to use this standard profile. Even though today's coffees here, I have a pea berry Sumatra and a couple other things. Honey Java, another Sumatra, and some washed coffees, mostly from Honduras, that I'll be using. I'm probably just going to use this profile because it's worked so well for us. And right now, I don't know how long that's been, Jarrett, maybe a couple minutes. I see that my power usage is going down, and I'm going to start my first roast. I do that by just putting the coffee in, dropped 1 bean. I release it into the roast chamber, and I'm roasting this profile. So this is incredibly fast to get going on your first roast. My first roast on this machine does tend to track about 15 up to 30 seconds longer. This particular sample isn't super important. We're just checking on a quality for something we already cupped. So I imagine this is going to end up, let's say, 8 minutes 30 seconds rather than 8 minutes 7:45, which it tends to be generally. But that's not a big deal, and this isn't critical. I do have different profiles in here for naturals, for wet hulled, like this coffee, for washed. But we tend to want to look at coffees more or less with the same roast profile, so I tend to use the same inlet air temperature profile. So let me show you a couple things over here too. So it's telling me I'm at the yellowing stage. It's using 42% power with 75% fan. These are the different temperature probes. So this has 4 temperature probes it's using. I think there's 5 temperature probes total, which is really unique for this type of roaster. The amount of data that's recorded with every roast is phenomenal. And you're sort of instant access to the data for every roast you've ever done without you needing to do anything. You are already logging this on the cloud because it's connected to Wi-Fi. And I'll show you that in a second. And just a couple other things here. So we use on this profile a default of 1 minute and 40 of development time. So that is something I can change anytime. If I want to say, you know, I wanted this a little longer, a minute 50, that would be fine. I just touch and change it. That means I don't have to come back later and do anything manually. I just know that ahead of time. And I could also start to roast manually. I don't want to actually go into that mode. I would do that by touching the power mode and then adjusting power or fan manually. And I'd be roasting manually this particular coffee. And it would actually tell me I'm doing that there, which is pretty cool. But of all this data, I don't have to log anything because it's all being logged, and I haven't even gone to my computer. So while we're doing this, because I'm not really locked to the machine, basically, I'm just going to go to my tiny laptop, and I think it will just have me already logged in. So it's a little slow. This is a super old MacBook Air. So it just goes to the main screen. Let's just click on live. There's no software connection I need. So, you know, unlike some other roasters, it doesn't ever crap out in the middle of roasting. And this is what's going on right now. I'm at 3 minutes. I have, you know, this is my bean temperature and air temperature. And this is where it is. Now, just hovering over gives me all of the live data at any point. It can almost be too much data, but because you can move it around and sort of see what it is, which data point is which point in which line. And it has a guide down here too, so it's very user-friendly. And I just want to show you this too, because I think it's so cool. Let's just say I want to see how this is tracking compared to a roast I did on 620. I choose the data points here, and it's already pulled up both roasts. And like I said, it's a lot of data. This is a really small MacBook Air screen. It'd be nicer on a bigger screen. But I can toggle between these, and it's showing me which batch I'm hovering on and how it's tracking. And I don't know if you can see this, but as the first roast, the temperature and the, quote, turning point are a little bit different. Turning point not being a real data attribute at all of roasting. You can see how close it's tracking in terms of temperature and time, even though this particular curve is set up on inlet air. It's not roasting by time or the amount of heat applied to the coffee. It's using the inlet air temperature to roast, which I find really accurate. So let me just show you quickly, because the roaster is roasting itself, and I can just do other things. I could be doing my email. It wouldn't matter, because that is going to automatically detect the first crack. It's going to start the countdown as long as I'm in the vicinity. And what you heard there a second ago, there was a beep. That's an alarm for a certain temperature, which you can set. I think I have it set at 375 Fahrenheit to let me know first crack is coming. And so I want to just show you this too. Here's what I roasted on June 20th, 2025. Here's June 18th. Here's, and if I want to go back, here's 55 screens, as far as I can tell, of information. January 4th, 2023 is where it starts. This is every roast that I've done while I was logged in. I actually mistakenly wasn't connected to Wi-Fi for a little while with this machine, because I think there's actually about 500 more roasts on it. So I have 1,354 roasts on this machine that were recorded. And every single one, I can check the log. I can look at it. I can see all the data points. And all of that is done without me basically doing anything. All of that is there. So let me go back over to the machine. Like I said, we're at 6:15 in the roast. We haven't had any first crack yet, but when we do, it will start first crack detection here. And I have it set so that after 2 cracks, because I don't want that first crack to be counted. So I count after 2 cracks, it starts its minute 40 countdown of development time. I can also, of course, be checking out my roast. which is a little tiny trier, but you know, it works. You're probably not going to get that, but, and I never like doing that, putting the coffee back in, but yeah, and you know, the view window on the Roost is really exceptional. I feel like if I didn't have a trier, I wouldn't be that upset because the view is outstanding. And I think you just heard the crack. Actually, it has heard 4 cracks already. So the countdown has started. I found it super accurate. It catches things when I think, oh, I hear this really subtle crack. Will the machine catch it? And I look and it's like, yes, it's increased by 1. So, you know, the funny thing is, I don't know if you can just look over here, but this is our 3-barrel Probat. And this is an outstanding machine to use, especially when you have 30 samples. I mean, I think the reason we've gravitated to the Roost is because of the fact that, like, we have really uneven amount of workflow every day. You know, I'll have 3 samples, I'll have 10 samples. Every so often, I'll have 30 samples. That's where this machine is great, you know, 3 at a time. But to be honest, I can't do anything else if I'm using this machine. I can't be interrupted or I blow the roast, which I do quite a lot. That is non-existent with the Roost. There's no lost roasts due to interruptions, etc. And it takes about 40 minutes to warm up. And then the first batch, we always just burn the batch. You could do that with the Roost, like not use the first batch because it is a little bit off. But, you know, this takes a lot of time and attention. Then it takes about 45 minutes to cool it down to where I can shut it off. So especially when some extra samples show up halfway through the day and I've got to roast them, that's a real issue for me in workflow. And the fact that anytime I'm interrupted, you know, we're a small business. I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats. I've got a lot of emails. I've got a lot of other things to attend to, or people need input on something down in the warehouse. I get called away a lot, and that is something that I can't even allow that to happen over there. Here, I'm a little, I really almost don't want to say this, but I can walk away from this machine. I've learned to trust it a lot. And if something happens, I can be in the next room and actually be cupping. I can hear the beep. I can hear it automatically go into the cooling tray to dump the roast, start my next batch. So I usually line up all my batches here. And the consistency of the batches is outstanding. Like I said, the first roast is fairly usable because it's a high velocity air roaster. You're not using a lot of conduction to transfer heat. It's not a lot of radiant heat. It's highly convective. It's my second roast. And the batch to batch, between batch protocol, like it's kind of important. So I'm not really doing my best job here because I usually have them ready. I start them like literally 5 seconds after this exits into here, into the cooling, start my next batch. So I'm just going continuously. Yes, it's not 3 barrels, but that means a lot of throughput per hour because there's, if I'm on it and I'm sitting right here, there's 5 seconds between each batch. And that batch to batch protocol isn't so critical because of just the way this machine functions as more of as this hybrid drum air roaster. So, okay, so mainly I just wanted to show you how quickly I start my roasting here. Some of the ways the machines kind of become integrated into my workflow. I would say, you know, I feel like this machine is very forgiving. Like it allows me to not mess up, even though I'm distracted, even though I have other things to do. So I know this is like a lot of money for a small business to afford, but I really see, you know, people who are under pressure, who do really want to do a good job with samples and are under a lot of pressure and wearing a lot of hats. It's actually, the machine's actually really useful for that situation, even though the expense it's a tough bullet to bite. Because I do 100-gram samples, I can always just check my weight out very easily. And so, yeah, 15% weight loss. I can check that. I can actually enter that into the log for each roast. I go in and edit the roast profiles in here to add extra data, add my weight loss data, have all that recorded as well, which I don't always do. And yeah, I'm just going to weigh out the rest of my samples now and get my work done. So